Alright, Elliotte Friedman is doing it again, folks, as on a recent episode of The Jeff Merrick Show, you had yourselves a segment of the Sportsnet renowned insider talking about a name who is a prominent figure in the NHL and linking this name to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, this isn't necessarily a Leafs are interested in this guy type of video, it's more of a Leafs should be interested in this guy type of video. There's a little bit of a distinction there, and I think that needs to be made clear. Let's head over to the San Jose Sharks and talk about a guy that is one of the best Sharks forwards the team has had in, okay, I was gonna say the decade, but it's only been a few years, the 2020s. So, the past few years, let's just say. We're talking about the Swiss beast himself, Timo Meier, and what Elliotte Friedman had to say about Meier in regards to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, here's the comment made from NHL Watcher's Twitter account. Friedman on the Jeff Merrick Show talking Leafs. One of the guys I was wondering about who I would think would be a perfect fit for them potentially is a guy like Timo Meier. Friedman adds before that the target was to get a sandpaper guy like Muzzin on the back end, but now that's changed. However, for what it would take to get a guy like Meier, you will not have a lot left to make other moves. Friedman emphasizes as well that he doesn't know for sure if Meier is a target for the Leafs, he is just spitballing. And so, what I wanted to do here was talk about this idea, go over the intricacies of what Meier is and how this situation could impact the Maple Leafs and their potential playoff hopes into the future. And when I say future, I really mean the short-term future. Because a guy like Timo Meier, if you make a trade for this guy and you're Toronto, you ultimately would be saying to everybody out there that you want to win now. And I mean right now. Not now and next year and the year after that. I mean literally in 2023. Because when it comes to Timo Meier, his contract situation is so peculiar that the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to have themselves some problems if they get this guy and want to keep him past 22-23. Meier right now is 26 years old, 6 feet 216, a left-handed guy. He's a pretty bulky dude, and this guy has been one of the better goal scorers in the entire 2022 year. He had himself that 5-goal game from last season and compiled that season with a 76-point year. He did that in 77 games played, so he was a point-per-game guy, and this season he is still a point-per-game guy. 38 points in 39 games played. He's got 21 goals, 17 assists, on pace for 44 goals, and 80 total points. That's a pretty good rate, but it gets even more impressive when you remember that, hey, he's playing on the San Jose Sharks. This team is not great at all. Okay, that's kind of unfair to say. Maybe not at all. I mean, Erik Karlsson is there too. He's got 53 gosh darn points on the year already. That guy's an absolute monster. But for Timo Meier, he is the type of player that could really add a different element of goal-scoring prowess to what the Toronto Maple Leafs have, because when it comes to, obviously, their best goal scorer on the team, Auston Matthews, I really feel like Meier is sort of that rover-esque, sort of complementary piece that could really open things up for a guy like Matthews a bit more. This is mostly because when it comes to Meier and his ability to traverse around the offensive zone relatively unscathed before receiving a pass and then just sniping it towards the net, this is a quality that I don't really think too many other players on the Maple Leafs have to the capacity that Meier is able to exhibit. As we had said, he had a 5-goal game earlier last year, which was pretty notable because 5-goal games don't happen often in the NHL. I mean, they happen often now. You talk about Meier and then Tage Thompson having it in the same calendar year, but aside from that, Meier is a goal-scoring machine that could be the ultimate win-now sort of addition to a team looking for an extra trigger man. And for a team like Toronto, which already has the likes of Auston Matthews, John Tavares, Marner Nylander, etc., this could be an incredible ad, who will likely play a lot better with players like that. Sure, he might not have Erik Karlsson setting him up anymore, nor Logan Couture, but still, Meier could probably get some good things done with the top dogs of the Maple Leafs. However, the problem with Timo Meier is that this guy is on a $6 million AAV deal that expires in 2023. The catch with this deal is that this season the guy's making $10 million, and that's just the individual amount of money for the year. This means that his qualifying offer, the starting point as to whatever negotiations will start at for next season, is still going to be $10 million, and the Toronto Maple Leafs, if they go out there and start negotiating a contract that has a 1 at the beginning of it, they probably would not be able to get something like that done. If you trade for Timo Meier, bearing, of course, any external trade of any other bigger contracts on the team, you are most likely saying to the rest of the hockey world, okay, we are going all in on 2023. Because a guy like Meier is going to be expensive to move. You're going to have to give up picks, prospects, and the like, as well as probably a roster forward replacement to make sure that everything works out fine on the player-to-player front. You would be shelling out a pretty big price for what is essentially going to be a guaranteed only like 3-month rental pretty much. It would be an incredible addition, yes, but would it really be worth shelling out all of those assets for only just a few weeks worth of play? Now, if the Maple Leafs do this trade and they win the Stanley Cup, who cares? Nobody cares. It's fine, you guys won, it's whatever. But you can't ever make a trade with that being the potential outcome that you're relying on to happen in order for the trade to become a win. There is still 15 other teams in the playoffs that you're going to have to compete with in this scenario, and you have to make the second round as well. I mean, Timo Meier does have experience playing beyond the first round. He was part of the Sharks organization when they went to the finals in 2019, but that was the last exposure this San Jose team has had to the playoffs, period. Timo Meier has not really been a part of any winning teams the past little while here, so heading over to Toronto, it's going to be a pretty interesting sort of shift in direction, I guess you could say. Now, I will say we did make another video about Meier already. We had talked about the rumors about him and the New Jersey Devils as to whether or not he could be that extra winger that Jack Hughes could really use in a trade with Alexander Holtz, for example. And that video explored some of the similar things, but the difference was the Devils have cap space. At least right now they do. They've got themselves Andre Palat, who is on the LTIR, and for next season you have so many guys you're going to have to re-sign. If you really wanted to get rid of one or two or whatever, you do have the option to do that. For Toronto, you're kind of locked in with the players you have right now. Everybody is on an entry-level deal pretty much, except for Kerfoot, the Big Four, and all the defensemen, but realistically, I mean, Timo Meier, that's a huge swing. And Toronto has been kind of known for making their huge swings in the past, so it really wouldn't surprise me if in a few weeks we end up seeing rumors linking Toronto to Timo Meier for real, not just Friedman saying that in his opinion it would be a pretty good idea. But at the same time, you gotta remember, Friedman is Elliotte Friedman. The guy chooses his words very carefully every time he makes an appearance on these shows, so he really must believe that it's a good idea for him to mention it on the Jeff Merrick Show in the way that he did, and of course, that's why we're talking about it here as well. So, if you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, what are your opinions on the idea of the Maple Leafs acquiring a guy like Timo Meier? Is my assessment of the situation incorrect in that y'all would probably actually be able to afford him and keep him around long-term if you acquire him and his services? How that qualifying offer might not actually be that big of a deal. It's $10 million and that's where it starts, but is that really the issue that I'm making it out to be? Am I wrong about that? If I am, and I'm asking it because I'm genuinely curious, is there a way to work this out to an outcome where he does stay with Toronto should he get acquired by this team at the trade deadline, for example? And if so, how does that happen? Because my measly, uneducated hockey mind is assuming that this is not going to be able to get done. Anybody want to let me know in the comments, educate me on the subject, then please feel free to do so. How do you keep Timo Meier in Toronto if you are the Maple Leafs and you trade for this guy? What are your thoughts on the idea of trading for him in the first place? Do you think it's a good idea? Would you not do it, etc.? What does a package look like as well for Timo Meier? Talk in the comments your thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.